Moving to global news now, where the biggest news is that day one of Brexit talks have ended with negotiations from Britain and European Union having met in Belgium's capital city. While David Davis and EU chief negotiator Michael Barnier stressed on the need to quickly tackle uncertainties in the process and announced a timetable and a negotiation plan for Brexit. Now, Davis and Barnier announced that discussions will be split into 3 stages: citizen rights, financial settlement and other issues.
Our objective is to agree on the main principles of the key challenges for the UK's withdrawals as soon as possible. This includes citizens' rights, the single financial settlement, and the question of the borders, in particular in Ireland.
Davis and Barnier will be meeting for a week every month to negotiate and use of the rest of the time to work on proposals. Now, both of them will also co-chair the main Brexit meetings and have power to create groups to focus on particularly tricky topics. And we are joined by the colleague Jessica Taneja for more on this. Well, Jessica, what's latest on the day first of Brexit from your side?
Well, Sumit, there was never going to be an easy walk for Britain when it comes to exiting the European Union. And you already heard Mr. Barnier talk about the fact that this is in fact not about a punishment or a revenge. It's about giving a consistent or a substantial deal to Britain, which Britain has been asking. And in fact, if you look at the political environment of the country, is not very fair as well to deal with the Brexit negotiations. And they've postponed it already to October, which is another hit back to the country in itself, because EU, in a way, is waiting for the country to stabilize in terms of other sort of problems as well the country is facing at the moment. The frequent attacks, as well as the recent general elections, which really didn't turn out to be that well. And to negotiate Brexit, you need to have a very stable government who can have a majority and go out there with the European Union with a particular deal. And you also heard Michel Barnier say the fact that Theresa May's mantra would be to get no deal, but we'll try and to offer a fair deal of sorts. So this deal should give some sort of hope to Britain otherwise, because looking at how earlier talks with the EU existed, in fact, nobody imagined that they would even hope for a fair deal.
Well, also, Jessica, in the post-election scenario, also at a time when geopolitical tensions are increasing, how do you think hard these negotiations are going to be?
Well, Sumit, that's an interesting question, because if you remember in the past, the EU President Donald Tusk, in fact, made some snide remarks about Boris Johnson, the Foreign Secretary, where Boris Johnson had said our policies are like cakes which are being eaten by others. To which Donald Tusk, in fact, made an announcement and said, well, if Britain is expecting to be welcomed with a cake, we'll, in fact, welcome them with salt and vinegar. So this is exactly what EU is bracing up for. And Britain doesn't realize that hard Brexit is not going to be an easy cakewalk. That a lot of, you're exiting the custom union, you're exiting the free market, you're going to sort of mess up with your free passport deal. That is going to give a lot of problems to Britain, given the fact that the country is not stable at the moment. And in fact, the foreign diplomacy that has gone around this, and the country itself not being able to come back on its own. And remember, the interesting part in the whole Brexit deal was that when the countries in fact became the European Union back in 1973, when Margaret Thatcher in fact announced it, Lisbon Treaty, Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty was a mere formality. None of these 27 states even imagined that one day one country will in fact exit EU.
Well, thank you, Jessica, for getting us all these details and giving this important perspective